welcome to another Keelhauled podcast. I'm your host, Captain Logan, and we've got a lot of Sea of Thieves news to cover today, so tie yourselves to the mast and hold fast. Ahoy there, pirates. I hope you had yourselves a good week and a good weekend. I know I did. This week, we're going to be talking all about the latest Sea of Thieves patch. Season 20 has kicked off. Custom Seas is here, and we are going to be chatting with Davram to talk about what we think of what's been going on with Sea of Thieves. Now, bear in mind, Davram and myself have played a little bit of Season 20, not a whole lot, and we did have some things that we were recognizing when we were actually playing through this. So if you do kind of go along and see like, oh, that's not quite right, that's something that actually is working, it may be because of a patch or it may just be timing. So just a quick heads up on that. But I had a really good conversation with him. Apologies if we happen to belabor some of the points that we were talking about. Sometimes when he and I get chatting, we just go on and on and on. So I know sometimes that comes across as just us talking in circles, and so I try to mitigate that later towards the end of the episode. But it's really hard when you're chatting with friends and you're just talking Sea of Thieves and you just want to have those conversations, and you know, have like a little bit of fun with it as well too. But with that, pirates, let's get into it. But before we get into any of that, I have to thank the patrons. They're the ones that went over to patreon.com/Keelhauled podcast to support this content. And as I am kind of closing things out, I once again am just going to keep the list as it is. I know a lot of folks have gone ahead and discontinued membership with the Patreon. Totally acceptable, because I am going to be running things down here over the next 4 episodes at this point. So I don't mind, but I wanted to at least kind of thank them and have, since I have the list here, figured might as well go with it. So thank you to A-Chick, L Cute, Captain Nooch, Balls, Blue Turtle V1, Captain Chonky, Chateau Noof, Super Pack, Zombie Killer, Cosmic Johnson, Static Mirror, Crazy Frog, Davram TV, El Jefe Esteban, Godhammer 6, Jeff H, Carl Embo of Embo Family Gaming, Elvin Vramir, Evil Morpheus. Fern is going crazy. She wants to play. Where did I leave off? Oh, Space Admiral Ors, Xbox Mike 29, Rabid Raccoon, Blue Crab, Real Big Tuna, Reaps Revenge, Ribloid, Rustbelt Kid, Scamelt 666, Tales of the Sea, The Demon Jester, Tommy D, TN Professor, Big Bad Pad, Mina Fairy, Hager Owl, Captain Duckweed, Peter Miller, Rooski Doo, Thor Von Blitz, Luke Lore the Insipid Ghost, and Zam. Wow. Thank you all so much to everyone that has been supporting, everyone that has supported in the past, and anyone who's listening to this now and wanted to support but can't. Thank you all so much. And with that, let's get into a very long episode with none other than Davram from Pirate Talk Radio. Welcome, everyone, to episode 421, one of the last 5 episodes for the Keelhauled podcast. As it is going to be one of the last 5 that I'm working on, I have decided that I'm going to do something absolutely crazy and bonkers, and I invited Davram to join me on today's episode. So we're going to be sitting down talking about the latest patch notes, the beginning of season 20. I have gone into Custom Seas. Davram has not had time to be able to do this, but we're going to find out how he's doing. So Davram, how you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm here, and I love how you introduced me as it's a crazy idea because I'm just crazy.
You with your spicy takes have always been crazy. I don't know what to tell you about that.
It's a realistic take. I like spicy food, but you know, it's a realistic take.
Which is surprising because most of what you consume from this content has always been reheated leftovers, as you put it.
It's true. It's true. I do like my reheated leftovers for 8 years. It's true.
So what I wanted to do is obviously, like, I'm going to be shutting down the podcast. For
I have heard. I am sad, but I have heard.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing is I as much as I love Sea of Thieves, I'm going to be stepping away to work on other content and do other things because I don't feel like I want to continue making negative content about Sea of Thieves when times are like this. And if anything, maybe this will be kind of the dog whistle for people who have been accepting a lot of things that they have just overlooked with Rare as far as like quality goes.
You need to join my side of the world where I have spent the past, 150 episodes making negative content towards Rare.
See, that's the thing is, it's just not in me. It's not in me to want to make that.
I don't want to.
But I mean, that's the trick, right? Is like I want to be happy about the game. I want to be positive about the game. I think when I sit down to play with folks, I have a good time, and I think a lot of that it comes down to like the fact that you're playing with friends, you're playing with people. So what you what is the saying is always like, there's misery or misery loves company, right?
Yep.
So what we've kind of decided is we're going to be talking about season 20. I'm genuinely curious. We're going to be playing through one of the Tall Tales, the Pirate's Life Tall Tales for this. Because it's a celebration. It's the 5th year anniversary. Instead of getting new content for Pirate's Life, we're going to be going in and actually diving into one of the old ones to get the sword. Because I actually did like the fact that we've always had this sword here on the Lord of the Sea one, but we've never actually gotten it. It wasn't part of the rewards for the initial release.
It wasn't?
No, it was never released.
Oh, you're right, because they released in the Emporium the like Davy Jones squid set, but you're right, it is not this particular one.
Yeah. So for audio listeners, I apologize if we make reference to something that's going on in the game, because we are going to be playing through one of the Tall Tales. I think we should go through the Pirate's Life Tall Tale just personally.
Are you sure you don't want to go play the organ?
I very much am sure. Not having audio for that right now would be kind of a pain in the butt. But I wanted to break down season 20 because I've gone through most of the deeds for season 20 on Custom Seas. And it's been interesting to go through, but you have not delved into season 20 at all. So
correct.
And I haven't gotten a chance to really talk to you about season 20's like change in season pass, and that having that be one of like the major changes to season 20. I'm kind of curious to talk to you a little bit about your feelings on it, what you think of it now that we have it like in hand, be able to look and see like what's going on, and actually provide a little bit of background on some of the things that Rare has talked about on social media that weren't in the actual patch notes, which, as you and I both know, is kind of a pain point for us when it comes to like stuff not being in the patch notes, like undocumented changes.
Yeah. So I think my biggest challenge with season 20, and I think the biggest reason I haven't, and I'll be honest, I didn't engage a lot with season 19. You said it very, very well when you said the reason I play this game is the people I play with. If it wasn't for the crew that I sail with on my Saturday sails, I would have stopped playing this game a long time ago, because it's and when I say a long time ago, like a year ago, and it's kind of downfall. And what I'm really disappointed in is obviously last season was all about PvP. We had the little like build rat weekender, which I wasn't a big fan of, and it didn't work at times. Yeah. But in general, 19 was PvP.
Yeah,
which is fine. There's a lot of PvP players out there. It's not my cup of tea, right? I did play some Hourglass. I enjoyed some of the new changes that they had at the beginning of the season. I didn't do Last Ship Standing because that's not my thing. And then when season 20, they were talking about Custom Seas, and they were talking about what I call back in the day the PvE server, right? That's what everyone wanted back in the day, and Rare said, oh, we're never going to do PvE servers. And then Safer Seas came out. Oh, we're still never gonna. Custom Seas came out, and what I'm irritated about is when they created Safer Seas and when they now have created Custom Seas, they specifically said that nothing you do in those game modes count towards the live game. And then season 20 launched, and in order to complete deeds, you have to go do Custom Seas. Which means doing something in a game mode that doesn't advance anything about your character is required to advance the deeds in the season pass, which is absolutely absurd, and again, is against what they have said for so long.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that there is an obvious answer why they decided to do this, and it really does come
people to play it.
Yeah, they want the engagement, and the only way to really get engagement is to promise progression. And at the moment, the only problem with that is that they are asking you to go do something that won't progress your character in any way except for the season pass. But it's also the only thing that's going to really get people to do introductory stuff in Custom Seas to actually understand like the tools and stuff. The real, and I went through I went through there, and I think they did a decent job of like tutorializing Custom Seas. But yeah, it is very much one of those situations where I think it's interesting that they decided to come out with a new season pass and then ask players to engage with Custom Seas, and their solution is to use deeds for the season pass as a means of forcing players to go to Custom Seas if they want the time limit. Now, granted, it's not required by anyone. You don't have to. If you don't want the cosmetics, you don't have to go to Custom Seas. But if you want the cosmetic, then you will need to engage with Custom Seas. I've come up with a couple little tricks here and there to be able to complete the deeds that are a little bit more like geared towards specific game modes that they've built around that. Kind of like, so for example, one of the season deeds that they have in here is you have to earn 50,000 silver by any means during a Custom Seas session. You can go in and create like a game mode, or you can just go into the game and create a silver system that has like a base number of points and then a cap. And then, so like you can set killing a Kraken at 5,000 points, and then you can have like no limit, and then the score be up to 5,000 points, so that you can literally just kill a Kraken, which is one of the other deeds, and then earn silver or earn points to help contribute towards that 50,000. So there's like ways to kind of like tweak some of the dials and knobs to achieve some of these deeds in easier ways. But it is very interesting that like their whole mentality was revamp the season pass, which we haven't really gotten into, but I talked a lot last episode. But then and have players engage with it through Custom Seas, because Custom Seas has the main selling point of this season as far as like a marketing perspective. But have you gotten a chance to take a look at the season pass, especially with the Emporium tiers, to see are there tiers where you don't have an option to choose one of the items, or are you able to at least pick one of the items from each of the different tiers?
So let me start off by talking about the UI, because I think that's important to start off with.
Sure.
So back before season 20, I would click seasonal, right? And it would take me immediately to the season pass.
Yeah.
And I know you and I have talked at length about how Rare has struggled to create a fluid and easy to understand UI. And they did their UI revamp, and there were definitely kudos that I gave them on the UI revamp. But since they did that UI revamp, they have continued to just add and not think about the overall aesthetic and ease of use of the entire UI. So now that I'm used to in the previous 19 seasons, I click seasonal and my season pass isn't there. Oh, there is a big number which says what my current renown is. There is a pirate holding the gold skeletal item that says incredible new star prize. Well, again, I watched the video, so I know what star prize means, but I'm like, you have not explained to me what star prize is, but now you're telling me star prize. Like, what the is a star prize, right? Yeah. And like, instead of what I'm used to, which is seeing my season pass immediately when I click on seasonal, I now have to dive into season pass. And then it brings me this nice little tutorial that's incredible new star prize. Well, again, what the heck is a star prize? 9 cosmetics to choose from, and it gives me a nice little picture of things, which I'm looking at, and I'm like, I already have most of these, so I don't care. And then I look at the next one, 10 exciting voyages. Oh, great, voyages. Are they voyages of luck or whatever that I just get doing Twitch drops or whatever? And then 425 doubloons. Well, again, I don't care about your build weekend, so like just opening this does not excite me at all. Where previously when I opened this and I saw my season pass in front of me and it made sense to me, the progression of the season pass right in my face, I could quickly click like, oh, here's 10 levels, here's 20 levels, here's 30 levels, and I could see what those items are. And now it's like, well, you're trying to excite me about something with a new UI that makes zero sense to me because it changed out of the blue with no like and then you click past the tutorial and it's like, well, what is this? Reward 1 of 10, 2 of 10, 3 of 10, whatever. And I'm like, what, like, there's no explanation. It was just a complete change of the UI with no explanation of what the heck this thing is. And talking about prizes, again, I watched the videos, so I know that those are supposed to be the big things, but it's like, you can look at how many people watch their YouTube videos, and you can see how many players they claim to have who are playing Sea of Thieves. Not every person who watches a YouTube video plays Sea of Thieves. Yeah, which goes back to my, and again, I know this is it. I hate the terminology around this, just because it's a word that people then turn and use as a negative way. But it goes back to the trans media that came out a long time ago. Not trans as in LGBT, but like transitional media, where in order to know what the heck is going on with a game, you have to engage with the studio on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and Blue Sky and YouTube and all these different mediums to understand the story. You have to buy the books and all that stuff, and the movies and all that stuff to understand what's going on. And my statement has always been, you are a video game. If I play your video game, I should understand exactly what's going on. I should understand the story and the lore, not by leaving the game, but by playing the game. If you change something, I should understand what you've changed inside the game in a clear and understandable fashion without me going anywhere or engaging with any other content. That has always been my stance in video games. And this is a prime example where if you didn't watch their content on YouTube, you would have no clue what Star Prize is. You would have no clue as to why the season pass you logged off in season 19, they updated to season 20, and you log back in and the season pass looks completely different. Even that little tutorial that pops up for you doesn't explain anything. It doesn't explain how it works. And that, in my mind, is a critical mistake that many studios have made. And unfortunately, 8 years in, I feel that Rare continues to make these mistakes. And though I think they're doing the proper thing of looking at the industry and seeing who does things properly, it's too little too late for me. And that's my biggest struggle with this season pass. It's not about what's in it. It's about how it was thrown into the game with no explanation for players who don't engage with their content outside of playing the video game.
Yeah, and I think now's a good time to bring up Drew Stevens' tweets Because to be honest, one of the things that I think echoes kind of in a little bit to the proof in the pudding here. One of the biggest issues that I think I've had with this is the lack of communication regarding what happens if a player already owns all three of the Emporium items at a specific tier. Now, I personally have been following the news, following the game, following the videos. So you're not wrong that someone who's been connecting with the external media is aware of what to expect with this. But I also don't disagree that at a certain point, you should not be required. And this is where I think the benefit is having content creators actually going and helping kind of have these discussions from an educational standpoint, because they put in the time to try and like communicate stuff based on information that they've gotten from watching all of that stuff. But one of the things that has not translated through any of the videos, through any of the posts, and wasn't actually even like expressed until after the season had been updated, was what happens to players who have all of the Emporium items in the season pass when you're asked to choose from one of the 3 rewards available at the end of a specific like tier bracket. So your level 5, your level 10, your level 15, your level 20s, you have 3 items to choose from in the Emporium, and those items are potentially something you already own. And it wasn't until Drew actually came out on Twitter, and I'm glad I actually saw this, because it was something that just happened to be on social media, and I happened to have Drew's posts on full notification. So anytime he tweets anything, I get notified about it, and I go and I read what it is, because he is communicating information that doesn't necessarily show up. But he says, in regards to people who have each item in one of the tiers that is not claimed or is already owned, that not only is that a very small portion of the player base, but it is still greater than 1 or greater than 0. Any of the tier of rewards that are unclaimed due to them being previously owned will be credited 100 ancient coins per tier. So if you have 3 tiers that you can't claim anything on because you already own those items, at the end of the season, you will get 300 ancient coin, which was not documented in the patch notes at all. And this is the first I've actually seen of it. It may have been in the forums, but the number of times like people have had conversations with stuff in the Emporium, but we have not gotten that information has not translated out to social media, is frequent. It is unfortunately very frequent. So if it was talked about, it was not something that transitioned from the forums to social media.
Yeah. And I'm looking at the season pass now, and again, the overall presentation in my mind is garbage. It's just garbage. And I look at this and I'm like, oh, you get to claim your reward. Okay. It's early in the season, right? It's just started. I have a rule. I do not buy the premium pass or the plunder pass or whatever they want to call it. Now they're calling it premium, until I have unlocked 100 levels. That is my rule. If I do not, like, if you have not created enough interest for me to play your game for 100 levels of your season pass, I am not buying it. And for the most part, I have got the 100 levels in the season passes. So now again, I credit that not to Rare. I credit that to my friends that want to play. But I look at this and I'm like, okay, so I'm looking at the first, I'm just going to take the first, what is that, reward set 1 of whatever. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Why it's not in the line like it used to be, I don't know. But doubloons, okay, don't care. Ancient coins, well, that's number 2. That requires the premium tier. So as someone who hasn't hit 100 levels, I don't get that. Voyage. Bombardier stash, sailor stash, cannoneer stash. None of that looks fun. So don't want 3. Number 4, premium. Can't get that, and can't get that. Number 5, Emporium items, right? I'm watching you. Oh, I own that. Flashy dancer. I own that. Admiral sleep. I own that. So just logging in as a player who plays the game, taking me out of it because I'm a rare butterfly that follows the content, covers the content, whatever. Right. But as a player who left season 19 and has now joined season 20 and has opened this up and figured out how it works, and they look at this and they're like, so I get 3 rewards, one of which is a voyage. None of those look fun or interesting. So 2 now, I get doubloons, 10. Does that even get you anything at or like, does that do much with your Duke thing or your, I don't know. And then I've got 3 Emporium items that I already own. So immediately when I look at this, I'm like, why should I even work on this pass? I am just looking at the first page, and 3 of the 5, the majority of the stuff I can't get right now. Because I either have it or it's something that I have to buy the premium to get. It doesn't feel good. Yeah. And I go to number 2. Doubloons. Oh, okay. Ancient coins, can't get that. Number 8, voyages, bombardier stash, sailor stash, cannoneer stuff. Well, that was the same as the first group. None of it sounds fun. Premium pass, and then Emporium items. Pocket pebble, have that one. Coin toss, have that one. Bucket prank, I don't have that one. Okay, I guess that automatically defaults what I get. But it's like time and time again. Reward set 3, I have all the items. Reward set 4, all the items. Reward set 5, all the items. 6, all the items. 7, all the items. 8, all the items. 10, all the items. Well, I guess 9, all the items. 10, oh, there's my Greed's Reach cutlass. Like, so literally looking at this season pass, unless I buy premium, there is no reason, 0 reason for me to play the game. And the point of a season pass is to keep, as I've quoted many times, asses in seats. That's what the season pass is to do. The job of a season pass is to keep a gamer at their computer grinding it out. And as a veteran player who's played this game for a long time, not as long as you, Mr. Logan, but a long time, and I look at that, there is nothing, 0, that is telling me you want to sit down and spend hours playing this game. Nothing. 0. And that's a problem. Yeah. That is a major problem.
I think that there is, and I think it's going to vary depending on everyone's like desires out of the game, right? Obviously, like what we're talking about doesn't necessarily encompass everyone's opinions on like the content that they're looking for. But I do think that the way that they've gone about doing this content does not incentivize my desire to engage with it if I'm not going to pick up the ship set with the premium pass and then use the ancient coins in the next one. I think that that's unfortunately one of the problems that I have with the season pass is that they've done something interesting in that they have gone in and pulled out a lot of the unique cosmetics that we used to get, like the one-offs, and they have and I'm genuinely looking through here because I just want to double check because I don't think that they've actually done this. No, they haven't. So the current season pass in a game where we used to get a free clothing set that had title, tattoo, makeup, a couple like pirate legend, like unique items that were one-offs. That's all been stripped out. All of that uniqueness to the season pass has been stripped out. And instead we've been offered Emporium content that we may or may not own, or voyages that we may or may not desire to actually like use. And that, unfortunately, that is just one of those situations where now that I'm looking at the rest of the season pass, all that I have to look forward to are doubloons. Well, that unfortunately doesn't work for people who have been engaged with the game the whole time, because a lot of the doubloons, if they've been collectors, a lot of those doubloons have been, you know, if you've been collecting every season's worth of cosmetics, if you've been diligent about that, you probably own most of the stuff that Lorena has. And unfortunately, there's no recourse for you. I can't buy anything from Lorena except for Bilge Rat firework crates. And I'm not going to waste doubloons on that when they're so hard to come by at this point. But at that point, I'm kind of sitting here looking at this and thinking, like, this is not good. There's only 2 items from Duke that I can buy, but once those are gotten, if I've been playing the game, if I've been looking to collect in on the doubloons and make sure that I have enough for the next time something from Duke comes up, then I'm going to have a real hard time figuring out what to do, because I'm not going to be able to claim the doubloons. And there's a bit of an answer for that from Drew as well too, but it's not clear cut enough that I trust that what it is. But someone else had mentioned, hey Drew, I own everything from Duke, I own everything from Lorena, I can't claim my doubloons because I'm at 4,000. What do I do when I can't do this? And the suggestion there was the post that I read earlier about him saying that he needs to, or that he is going to have the system reward you with 100 ancient coin, which to me would be very interesting if they are giving 100 ancient coin for every doubloon tier that you can't claim in on. But that is not clear cut enough for me to say that that's exactly what's going to happen. So
yeah, that's what bothers me. And again, I understand that they like, and I've said it many times. I've never met Drew. I hope here in a month that I will get to meet Drew and shake his hand, and he seems like a good dude. Yeah. But he, in my opinion, was put in front of the firing squad as Sea of Thieves was in a rough space, and unfortunately was heading down and has continued to head down. And to me, he feels like the scapegoat because he's the guy that gets put in front of everything to apologize. And it's hard for me because I think he articulates things well, and I think he's as transparent as they allow him to be.
Yeah.
But things that he articulates, it's like, how do I, like, you're part of the studio. I should be able to trust what you say. But in the same regards, you are a studio that has to make money in order to survive. How are you giving away ancient coins, your premium currency, your actual, like, your dollars or your pounds or wherever you are in the world? How are you just going to give those away specifically to your player base who has this stuff? That just seems odd to me. And it's not in patch notes, not to say that release notes or patch notes, they hold, you know, any sort of weight in Rare, but like, it's on Twitter and stuff like that. And I'm just like, I guess it comes down to, and this is across the board. It comes down to, as a player, I have lost trust in the studio. And so I don't care if it's someone that I've met that I have a very high regard for, such as Mike Chapman or whatever. That studio has broken their trust with me too many times, to a point where even if one of their head guys, Drew Stevens, says something on Twitter, I still look at it and I'm like, really? Are you sure? Is
Yeah.
it really going to happen? Like, I don't believe them anymore. And though it sounds great, especially for players, you know, who have been playing a long time, like yourself and myself, who have everything, and you know, and I definitely don't do the build roulette weekender stuff. I don't need another like checklist like my mom used to give me to go sit somewhere and fire a firework here and poke a pig with a stick here. But like I don't care for that, but I probably have most of the stuff anyways already. But for players who do engage with that and are trying to be completionists and already have all that stuff, sure, 100 ancient coins, just sign me up. You're giving me free money. I don't believe them, and I don't trust them anymore to fulfill that, because I think there's quite a few players that they're going to have to cash out some money to, and are they going to want to cash out money to them when they find out how many players actually have everything done, even though they should have the data that shows how many players, if X, I'm going to have to cash out Y, they should already know that data. They should already know it.
Yeah.
But have they looked it up? That's the question.
I do think that they probably have, personally.
I hope so.
I imagine that they had to make that call, which I think genuinely I think is why the recourse is only 100 ancient coin.
But then why not put it in the patch notes? Why not put it in the release notes? Why not
well,
make it public in writing?
I think that's because whoever's doing the patch notes, and I'm not going to disclose who I think it is, but I think whoever's doing the patch notes is not necessarily getting all of the information or knows to ask for all of that information. I don't think the developers are the ones that are responsible for publishing the patch notes.
Nope, they wouldn't be.
I think they are the ones that are responsible for notating the changes, but
Correct.
not like if the change doesn't seem noteworthy enough. I don't know that the developer, or I don't know that the people who are doing the patch notes are taking all of the information into account, because there is stuff that should be noted in the patch notes, and I think that this is one of those. But I think that there's definitely a disconnect on what should be in there and what isn't in there.
Right. Yeah. And what you just said is a very accurate statement in development and gaming studios. Is as someone who does have a team of developers that I work with, they write great technical notes. They do not write good notes for the general public.
Yeah.
So, you are, again, if Rare is following best practices, you are correct. The developers would hand off, here are the features we're releasing, in technical terms, and then, you know, whoever is the word crafty people would then proceed to make them, you know, public friendly, right?
Yeah.
So no, that would be accurate in your statement. And it's just like, but there's things, what bothers me is there's things that I'm sure in a technical aspect are mentioned that are very important, but a specific group, whoever is writing up those notes that go out to the public, don't deem them as important.
Yeah.
And that's sad. That's sad to me, because information like what we're talking about right now, like, for me, sitting back, like, why on earth would I play Sea of Thieves right now? Why on earth would I work on the season pass right now? There's nothing for me. I don't need doubloons. I don't need this. I already have all this stuff. Oh, if I do this at the end of the season, I get real money, ancient coins for it. Oh,
yeah.
Well, that's a pretty good reason to play the game and unlock all your season pass pieces, because you're getting quote unquote real money for it. That seems good idea to me. But that was excluded, and I'm like, that's a pretty important bit that has been left out.
Yeah, but the recourse is that the people that are going to get the ancient coin are going to be the people that have been supporting for a while. They're the ones that have literally like have all of the doubloons, have all of the cosmetics. Like, the recourse for that is is small, but it only going to really affect a small portion of the community. But I do think that I'm at least happy that there is a recourse, because up until launch, there genuinely was no word on what was actually available, based on like what we had. Like we did not know for sure, unless it was in forums and it got missed, because that was not something that was expressly written out, that there was going to be any kind of like, hey, thanks for playing the game and supporting. Here's what we're going to give you as a result of not being able to pick anything. So at least there is something. I just don't know that it was definitely not a good idea to not have that in the patch notes, which at this point we're making a mountain out of a molehill.
Right. That's true.
But I do think that it's one of those things, like this is not the first time, but it should be the last time. We need to have much better patch notes if we're going to know what's going on. We should not have to go to social media and bug the production director for what's going on with Sea of Thieves. Like,
yep,
we should not be
that
having
should not
to
be his primary job.
Yeah, he should not be on social media fielding QA about something. This should be something that is covered, and I'm surprised that he's honestly doing it and not yelling at the communications team for not having that information in the patch notes. Like that, if anything, if it were me, I would honestly be like, you're right, that's a good question, we have an answer. I'll make sure that the team that is working on the patch notes goes and updates the patch notes to have that information, so that it is then communicated to anyone that goes to check out the patch notes, as opposed to having to have notifications turned on for the Drew. And that's
and to piggyback off that, and you've heard how I handle my place of business. Like, I don't deal with that stuff. Like, I have multiple not happy conversations with our communications team all the time, because like I'll open something and I'm a computer guy, I'm a computer nerd, and I'll open one of their newsletters and I can't read it because the formatting is not dynamic, and thus it doesn't sit well on my laptop monitor. And I'll send a screenshot and I'll be like, you are sending this out to not only the entire staff, but people above us, like above us. And they're like, well, we format it for this particular resolution and this particular screen size. And I'm like, and not everyone has that screen size. And so it bothers me that on one hand you have a communications team that is constantly posting, oh, this is a funny little video, oh, submit your stuff for Sea of Thieves shot to get your gloves and your hat, oh, check out this goofy little thing, oh, this is so funny. And you have a guy who's supposed to be in charge of the direction of the development of the game having to answer questions about the game, because all that a communications team is caring about, who should be handling all of that stuff, is only handling happy, fun PR picture stuff. It's ridiculous. I would be raising hell if I was Drew. Like, I don't have time for this. This is not my job.
Yeah. I appreciate that they have that kind of indie level of communication with the community, but I do think that the community developers are not doing what they should. They should be the filter between the developers and the community.
Correct.
I feel bad for Drew for having to play that role when that is absolutely not what his role should entail.
Nope.
That being said, we still have a lot to go over here, because I did
yes, we do.
I did want to get into the custom seas, because a lot of the season deeds for this are interesting. So if you guys want, there's two things that you can get. You can get the captaincy painting, which has the skeleton pinned to the oh my gosh, what's the palm tree by the sword, which tells a story that I really wish that Rare had been able to go back to, like have him have his voice that they originally intended.
That's the maiden voyage, right? That's where you pull your first cutlass, right?
Yep. Yeah. The guy that's strapped to the palm tree who comes to life. That is a painting that you can get if you go and actually visit the 4 legendary locations in Custom Seas. Those are something that you can immediately do from the front end of Custom Seas when you start the game. So that's fun to go to those locations, but it is literally you just popping into Custom Seas and starting up 4 different sessions at each of those locations. The other part of it, as I'm kind of reading this too, so you have to earn 50,000 silver by any means during a Custom Seas session, which again, like, you've got the ability to kind of set the limit of like points in the game. So like you can choose to kind of like set this up how you want. They also have the presets for some of the things that you can do, so that it's a little bit easier if you just want to jump in and do like the rowboat thing, or if you want to do the sniper thing, you can earn silver that way as well too. You have to use the fly command in Custom Seas and then use the grapple gun to grab a chest of fortune. So you have to have your grapple gun, you have to spawn a chest of fortune, you have to use the quick menu to get to the fly option, and then use like while you're flying, actually grapple the chest. And honestly, like the amount of renown that you get for each of these is pretty good. As far as I know, it counts like for an entire level. So I've gotten all of them except for one. There's only one that I can't get, and that's well, aside from the silver one, there's one that is like you have to kill 50 skeletons in Custom Seas while Morrow's Peak outpost is shrouded in fog and stormy skies. I have tried for a while. I would say probably I tried for about a good half hour to an hour of trying to get the fog and the storm to appear over Morrow's Peak outpost. I can only ever get the fog, and I can spawn skeletons, but only up to a certain point. So like my intent was spawn a bunch of skeletons, spawn a keg, blow up keg, kill skeletons, rinse and repeat until I get up to 50. But for the life of me, I can't get the storm to actually spawn on Morrow's Peak outpost, when you can genuinely go into the settings and choose what island do you want weather to spawn on. But for whatever reason, it just did not work for me, and that was kind of a pain in the butt. But
it baffles my mind still, right?
Yeah.
So we're going through these, and it literally explains to you, like, it's the deeds are quite literally the tutorial to teach you the different cool settings that you have in Custom Seas, right? Keys to the seas.
Yes.
And the deeds walk you through some of the bigger options, the bigger switches, as Rare calls it.
Yep.
But what baffles me about that is they don't all work.
That is the trouble that
I mean?
I've run into. Yeah. Some of the stuff that I've wanted to do, I've tried to do, and I've had mixed things. Like, one thing that has worked is killing the Ashen Lords on Port Merrick. I've had to basically go and spawn a whole bunch of black powder kegs in the actual tavern, like on the middle ground floor, and a couple on the bottom. And then what I did was I went up to the top of the tavern, and I spawned all 3. Actually, technically, I did all of the Ashen Lords, just to be sure. And then I walked down to the bottom one. They walk so slow, so that it was pretty straightforward. Yep. It took them a while, but they were making their way down. I just lit one of the kegs and then ran, and that was enough. There was enough kegs in there to blow up and kill all of them. So I was like, well, that wasn't like, it wasn't a huge thing, but it was something that I was like, okay, I understand now, like, what you have to do. So there's ways to kind of go about doing some of these that are going to be fun and novel, but I don't know what the lifespan is going to be for this mode as a thing, especially as I think many people have pointed out, there is no like server browser to go and look for people who are doing stuff in Custom Seas.
You have to invite people.
You have to invite people. You have to have a code to be able to join. And at that point, you're kind of just like, well, I guess you're just going to have to be in a community and know what to do to be able to go and do some of these things. Now, I've already seen folks like Falcor who have already kind of like set up an idea of like what he wants to do with it. So I'm glad that there's been folks who have wanted to kind of create that stuff to try and do that. I know I just recently saw Status Hidden had announced that he or she or they had actually been put in a position to help kind of curate people who are doing custom seas stuff. But that is I'm trying to think of like a way to describe it, but basically they've done the thing where they've said, we're going to create a hammer and we're going to tell you how to use the hammer, but we're not going to give you any wood or nails or ideas on what to do with it. Like we'll give you a couple blueprints and stuff and you could find the wood and the nails, but that's about as far as we're going to get. We're not going to tell you where to go to build it or why you're building it. And that's, unfortunately, I feel like that's a missed opportunity. They really should have had some sort of means for players to connect and identify in the game, not through Discord, not through the website, in the game, to be able to find like custom modes that are going on. And there should have absolutely been things like an in-game browser to basically say like, hey, these folks are starting up custom seas. They are putting in the name of the type of event that they're running. It's a fishing extravaganza or a TDM deathmatch, or, you know, and have like things like they've done for other multiplayer games where you can actually go and take a look and see like, okay, people are doing custom maps in StarCraft. Here are the modes that they're running, and you can go searching for those modes and you can filter based on what you want to do. And they don't have those tool sets available. So right now it's like, well, you've kind of done the bare minimum, which is a monumental effort, but at the same time, going to be very deprecated if you don't have players give players a way to look for things to do, because not everyone's going to want to set those up. Even Fortnite has a way for you to find like things to do in the custom modes outside of just having join codes.
Yeah, and I think again you hit on the thing that I kind of talked about a little bit earlier, but in a different way, and that is games need to have things in the game. I was talking earlier about the transmedia in order to follow a story, like back in the mystery days and stuff like that, or more recently that they do the pop-up plunder, where what you need to do something or learn something or engage with something is not all in the game. And that's very true with the custom seas. Based on what you said, was I could create a server and I could want to do a TDM thing, but there's no way for me to advertise that inside the game. There's no way for other players to say, oh, I want a TDM too. Oh, look, Davram has a TDM server up. I could join him. There's nothing like that in the game. You have to do everything like that outside the game, and not only outside the game, but not even engaging anymore with Sea of Thieves. Like, sure, there's the Sea of Thieves Discord or whatever, but like, now you're at a point where you need to go to non-Sea of Thieves channels to find people, to find friends or community members in order to do that. And maybe in Sea of Thieves mind is, oh, that's a good thing. We're bringing players together and that stuff. But in a way, sure, you're bringing some players together, but on another way, it's bad because you're forcing players. Oh, I want to do TDM today. I'm going to set up my custom server. Okay, I got it all set up. All right, now I'm going to go to all these different Discord servers and see if people want to play. And what am I not doing while I'm doing that? Engaging with the video game. I am out in Discord engaging and I'm in this stuff. Yeah. You're again not keeping asses in seats. And I personally feel, I mean, there's an indie game out there that's taking the world by storm right now called The Isle. They have custom servers that you can see in a server list. You have what? Grand Theft Auto has custom servers that you can see in a server list all the way back in the day. I heard you mention it earlier. StarCraft had custom servers on a server list. I mean, like, it's been going on for a very long time, and here Rare comes out, build your own custom server. But if you want someone to play, you have to go out and find the people, and you have to go find them outside of the video game. And that's just, it's not a good approach. And in my mind, it's a lazy approach. It's okay, we're going to go this far, but we're not going to finish the cool thing, right?
I think that is one thing that I think Rare has been at least talkative about is that this is not the end of custom Seas, which I'm glad to hear, but it doesn't bode well when it feels like they needed to get this out, because the concern that I have now is as much as I want them to continue into, you know, story-based content and bringing stuff that they took out of season 19, I do worry that Rare is going to fall into the trap that they always do, and it's that they tend to run out of a situation where they build something, they get it to product state, and then they move on. Like they get to the 1.0, but they never get back to the 1.5 or the 2.0.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was going to challenge you when you said that they mentioned that they've got more coming. And I'm like, but how many times have we heard them say, okay, this is the first rendition. Okay, we're going to build on this. Okay, we're going to do this. And then they never do. And that's why those type of words, and I go back to the word trust, that's why I do not have trust in Rare as a studio anymore, is because I'm tired of hearing the words and then not hearing the actions to follow it up. You can't tell me over and over again, oh, well, this is what we've built right now, but it's a starting point. And then years go by and it's still at that point, or worse, because of degradation of code, and they never revisit it, right? Like, how many years was everyone maxed out? This is a simple one. Maxed out of their of the trading companies. Oh, well, that was just, you know, we're going to expand the trading companies one day. It's coming. Don't worry, it's coming. How many years did it take them to do that where people were maxed out? A simple thing. Expand how much you can get. You don't have to add anything else, but like just let people keep leveling. You know what I mean? So I mean, and that was a teeny tiny one. Now when they revamped it, they obviously added, you know, a lot more stuff, but like you didn't have to. You could have just been like, okay, you can keep leveling. Well, what, you know, just go ahead. Like, have at it. Yep. But that again goes back to my trust thing with them, is when they say things like, this is just phase one, or we're going to build on this, I do not trust them to actually do it in a timely manner. When I say timely, their version of timely is clearly very different than my version of timely. But like, when I say timely, I'm like timely for the players, not convenient for the studio.
Yeah, I think the real key there is that we want Rare to stay engaged with this beyond launch, and like with an immediate like follow up. Like season 21 should have improvements to custom Seas, so that you are knowing that they are going to engage with developing this and what things they are going to do. And not something as simple as, hey, we're adding additional presets to the mode, because I think that's too bare bones. I think that that's too simple for what they should be doing. Like the things that they should be doing with season 21 should include new content that they're bringing to the game, but follow-ups on custom Seas the way that they're promising. With this, I did want to say that there is a really cool change that has actually happened. It's one of the other key features with Sea of Thieves when it comes to what they're doing with the season, and that is that they are removing a lot of the voyages that are dive to world events from the game. You can still dive to certain world events, but ones that are organic ones, like skeleton forts, Ashen Lords, skeleton fleets, Burning Blade, the well, you can't actually dive to Burning Blade now that I mention it. I don't, at least you couldn't dive to that one. But ones that you could dive to are no longer available for season 20 alone, and that those world events are going to be emergent only, which means they'll have the same type of loot pool that they would if you just happened upon them. And from my perspective,
wait, okay, tell me. So you can't dive to them anymore, or you can dive and the loot is better?
So you can't dive to them, which means
that's a bummer. That's a bummer.
Well,
that's a step backwards.
I think it depends on who you talk to in that case, though, because if you were a person that liked the loot pool from the emergent ones, and you went towards a world event on a server thinking it was an emergent one, and you got there and it was just a bunch of merchant junk.
Okay, I get you. I follow. But where I like them was, and here's what I enjoyed about it.
Mm-hmm.
I could focus my play session. So, for example, if I was in a play session and I was like, today's play session, I want to focus on getting my Order of Souls up, I could literally dive to those voyages and know that everything I got was Order of Souls. Yeah. I enjoyed that because it allowed me, like they always talk about tools, not rules, right? That was a tool for me to map out my play session and play it the way I wanted to and be rewarded for what I wanted. Like it was truly a tool that gave me the ability to reward myself exactly how I wanted to be rewarded. Now, was there a lot less loot than I wanted? Absolutely. But it allowed me to dictate exactly the loot that I was going to get as far as the reputation I was working on.
I agree. I think that if it's one thing I've learned about 2026 with Sea of Thieves is that Rare is no longer embracing the tools, not rules mentality.
No.
I think that they have heard from the community and that they've seen some of the frustrations that the community has had, and they've learned that their desire to keep the game as open and available as possible has been to a detriment, that they've gone too far with features and functions that tools, not rules is no longer servicing the way that they initially did, and some of the choices that they've made are basically at this point a hindrance to the natural state of like a server.
Agreed. And the reason for that was, in my opinion, not a problem with tools, not rules. It is a problem that they're still facing to this very day with everything they're doing, and that is the players. In today's world, they're not listening to the players. They're tone deaf to the players. No matter how much we yell and complain, they're doing what they want to do. They're doing what they think is best instead of listening to the people who are actually playing their game. Tools, not rules. Yes, they went overboard with the amount of tools they implemented. 100%. However, the problem was not necessarily the tools, it was the players. Because just like not listening to the players is a bad thing, putting something in that you rare tested and expecting the players to play the same way that you rare tested is the worst approach to QA ever, because players will always find ways to break stuff. We will. And so I think they went overboard with tools and thus had to counter with rules where what they really needed to do is reassess their QA process and either have players QA it, which we haven't heard anything from that initiative, or understand that, hey, we don't play this game like the player base plays this game. maybe we should hire a QA team that will play this game a little bit closer to what the players do, because I don't think at Rare, and again, I don't know how they've got their QA team staffed. I assume not well, but I really don't think they give these QA people. I think they do, what is it called? Unit testing or whatever. Like, here is the game. Here is the changes we made. Please test this.
Yeah.
Whenever I've been a QA tester, I don't want you to tell me what changes you've made. I don't. Mm-hmm. I don't want you to tell me what changes to test at all. And the reason for that is if I don't know what specifically things that I need to test, I'm going to test everything. And then I'm going to find things. But if you tell me specific things to test, then I'm not going to test everything. And I feel like, because and I deal with this every day at my job, I feel like when you tell the QA testers, this is what we changed, this is the part of the software we changed, that's all we're testing. And then what happens is you release it, and then all of a sudden other things are broken, and you're like, oh, I didn't anticipate that. Well, if you don't tell the users what you changed and you just make them test it, they'll find it. So I think tools not rules was a fine approach to the game. They just gave us too many tools and never got a handle on testing those tools. So thus then they had to make rules, and now we're where we are because it's a vicious cycle, and it was frustrating and took too much time for them.
I'm struggling to see
answer.
I'm struggling. Yeah, I'm struggling to see the correlation to custom seas in this instance.
Well, like, so for example, in custom seas, you mentioned that there was a particular thing. It was the storm, right? The storm didn't work.
Yeah,
it's a tool in there that didn't work. You have a deed based around that. In my mind, if you have a unit-based testing, that should have been tested because it's a deed. But like in general, just be like, okay, we've got this custom seas things. Go in and play it. Just have fun. Tell us what's breaking. Well, and I guarantee you, someone probably would have clicked on Storm at one point and been like, this isn't working right.
I think the trouble is that we don't know what their testing environment is like. And we don't necessarily know what the results of their testing environments are like.
We don't.
They could very well have had zero issues during QA.
Correct.
I think one of the troubles is not necessarily whether or not they're doing QA. I think they are. I think the trouble is that they aren't having enough lead time on the public QA to address that. But that's
Insiders.
a whole different kind of like a whole nother. It's a good topic to have, but it's not necessarily a topic that relates exclusively to custom seas.
Agreed. That's a larger topic for the whole game, not just custom seas. Correct.
Yeah. But I do think that what custom seas has brought is good. I think it's late for them to be doing it, but I do think that what they've done has actually been really good for the percentage of people who are going to engage with it. And I do hope that those people engage with it. Because I feel like there needs to be that justification for why Rare spent so many years developing this mode that at the moment it really does feel far more niche than even Safer Seas. Because at least I feel like a portion of the community engages with Safer Seas due to the fact that they don't have to necessarily engage with other people if they want. But custom seas has to be something that is genuinely out of pure curiosity or pure creation. And if that is something that people aren't going to do, then unfortunately you run into the instance where no one's going to engage with the content. And that is not a good thing for how long Rare has invested in on this, unfortunately.
So let me ask you this. So you made the statement, you think it's good for the people who are going to engage with it.
Yes.
What percentage of the player base do you believe will play custom seas outside of the first month consistently?
I mean, that's a question that I couldn't possibly even have a real answer for. I will say that I think that the drop off after season 20, though, when people are no longer working on deeds to do stuff in Safer Seas. I think people will get the deeds done. There's going to be a lot of engagement because people have a cosmetic grind to go after. But outside of that, I think unless you have a community and a steady group of people who are engaged in that community, it's going to be a very small number of monthly users. Because I don't think that
I would venture to guess it's a smaller number than I would say. I would, again, just like you, no data on this, hard question to answer, just speculative. I would be willing to speculate that the number of people engaged with season or custom seas outside the first month, I'm not even going to say season 20. I'm going to say the first month, because a lot of people complete those deeds in the first week, right? So I'm just going to say the first month. I could be completely wrong about this, but I would say it would be less of a percentage of people than the percentage of people that they claimed were playing Arena when they shut it down.
So you think less than 10%?
No, I think less than 5%.
Okay, because I think I'm pretty sure it's been a while since they released the information about like how many people were engaging with Arena. I think it'll be interesting to see like what that number is. Unfortunately, this is one of those situations where it was they had to get it out. And they had been investing so much time, money, and man hours into creating custom seas that they had to fulfill that promise, even if it was too late to really have relevance that it ought to have.
Correct.
And unfortunately, that is just the situation that Sea of Thieves is in right now. And unfortunately, it seems like in conversations that I've had with Mike, that they've always been a little bit behind the 8 ball on where the community wants them to be focusing their attention on and what they're currently developing for. Because when they were doing lots of story, people were like, we want more tools. They switched over to making more tools, and then people were like, no, you went too hard into tools. Where's the story? And they've never really been able to get that equilibrium between story and tools, like having the sandbox enriched while also furthering the story for the game, and being able to have players engaged with both PvP and PvE. It is a very narrow rope that they have to try and walk when it comes to trying to hit your biggest market on from a community perspective. So I don't envy them in any sense. I think the one frustration that I have is if you're going to commit to content, whether that content is something that's going to be highly engaged with or not, it needs to work well at the very least. And I think that Custom Seas so far for me has worked well, with a couple minor hiccups,
and that's fine. A couple minor hiccups is good for them, right?
And
it's good for Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, as far as the track record goes, yeah,
right. I mean, and that's I want to compare apples to apples, right? And if we're comparing Sea of Thieves to challenges with their updates, a full update with only a few kind of goofy things, just a few, not like major breaks, that's good for them. That's good. Yeah. Now one thing I did want to say, and I appreciate your endless optimism. That is something that I really admire about you, is when you say, Mike mentioned that they always felt behind the 8 ball. My comment, which is probably why I've never got a chance to interview Mike, is I would be like, Mike, you say you're behind the 8 ball, buddy, you're not even playing pool. Like, you're trying to be behind the 8 ball, but you're actually playing basketball. Like, that's how off you are. like that's how I feel that they have been. And you summarized it perfectly when you're like, we put out a whole bunch of good story and people were like, I want tools. And then they put out a whole bunch of tools and then they're like, well, where's the story? And it's like, dude, you want to be behind the 8 ball. You want to be trying to make that shot on a pool table, but you're outside of the basketball court. Like, you're not even playing the same game, right? Like, that's how I've always felt. That's how I've felt. Is they think they're behind the 8 ball, but they're playing a different sport.
Maybe that's why they keep missing the mark. They're trying to play basketball with a cue stick.
And playing basketball with a cue stick or trying to dribble a cue ball that's a challenge because those things are going to break.
Yeah,
they're going to break.
I want some of the things that I did want to dive into as well. Ironically enough, I appreciate when they decide to go with some of the mysteries with Sea of Thieves. But I know that in the Discord, as well as like Rare Thief and other players or other content creators have done a good job of announcing this. There is a hidden curse in this update that we didn't have before, and this is something that if you want to find out what it is available out there. There are videos on how to actually get to it. It does involve the smugglers, so you will need to be up to date with your smuggler stuff to be able to engage with it. But there are, and I would recommend Rare Thief as always. I fully support Amir when it comes to the dedication on creating content for Sea of Thieves for so long for this. I like that we are getting some story in here, but once again, I feel like Rare is doing themselves a disservice by having stuff be so I think the trouble is the same reason why I have trouble with the season passes, the same reason why I have trouble with the way that they're doing narrative right now. Too much of their narrative is discovered. It's stumbled upon.
Yes.
It is okay to have mysteries and secrets in games if you are still serving the main thread of your plot. It is okay to have hints, teases, and little one-offs like a hidden curse if you are still telling full stories.
Yes.
When you are only doing little hidden curses and one-offs and stuff like that, yes, you are going to let people feel special for discovering it. But eventually people are going to make a video and then everyone's going to find out that way. And then everyone's going to be like, how come we didn't know about this being something that you could go do and we had to go find it through a video? Or people are going to be like, oh, what is that? I've never seen that before. How did you get that? And then people are going to have to go, oh, well, it's too much to explain. So go watch a video on it.
Right. But that's how they've always been though. Like that's how they've always been is Mike has said it himself. They enjoy putting stuff in there and then they expect the players to find it and be surprised and excited about it. I'm like, dude, there are certain players and God love them. They love to go around scratching and itching at every grain of sand to find those little like pigeon footprints that they're like, oh, those weren't there last update. They're pointing east. I'm going to sail east. And then, oh, I ran into a turtle shell that wasn't there last time. And they solve this very elaborate set of breadcrumbs. Yeah. But the percentage of players who actually enjoy that are so small. And the general populace log in, they walk to their ship and they say, what the hell am I doing this season? Like the general populace, they want you, as soon as you log in, to slap them in the face, tell them the story, tell them exactly who to go and who to talk to, and they want you to handhold them through the story. That's what the general populace wants. And if you don't do it, they're not going to engage with it until they see something cool like, oh, look, you've got a cool skelly curse. How do you get that? Well, you've got to waste your life away in Hourglass to get this. Oh, okay. Well, I guess I will go dive. What?
Come over here.
Okay.
I've got something to tell you. Oh. Pulls pineapple out of butt.
Yes.
They did try that.
But they didn't do it well.
I'm not saying that they did it well. I'm just saying that they tried to do that and people were like, I am so sick of hearing this. And it became a meme.
But that's why I said they don't do it well. Like, okay. All right. I'm going to call on a game that I've called on many times. Are you going to pull another mango out of your butt? Because I'm just curious.
No. But I don't want to belabor too much longer because there's a couple other things.
Okay. I will just give you one example.
Okay.
So I'm going to give an example of what I've used in the past, and I know it's not apples to apples, but Destiny 2.
Yeah.
When you log into Destiny 2, when a new story is dropped, you can't do anything. You immediately get locked into a cutscene that sets you up for the story. And then it immediately gives you a quest, quote unquote, voyage that says, go here, talk to this person, and that person begins it. It's not walk out of the inn and, hey, I've got something to tell you. Yeah, well, you say that every time I log in. So is it really something you have to tell me? Or are you just saying that because I walked by you and you're like one of those little frogs that sit, or the fish with the sensor on them? You know what I mean? Like,
yes,
that's what I'm getting at, is they didn't do it well, because if you log in multiple times a month, you always hear her. So why would you go talk to her and assume she has something new for you?
I agree with you on that. I think this is one of those situations where, unfortunately, again, there has been a horrible misusage of the message board that we have at every dock. And it would be very easy for them to have Ghost Parrot or Cursed Parrot pop up on the top of that little message board, and have that message board be the means that you would interact with it. And once you've interacted with it, it goes away. Once you've completed that voyage, if that's what you want to do, and that is your story aspect, that is your story delivery method. And it can still serve as one of those things that you do that is just like, hey, you can still get voyages, you can still post quests and stuff like that, but most of the story will be communicated via this message board, and that there should be more emphasis on this. Also, it needs to get rid of the gold hoarder iconography on here, because it's very misleading as far as who it's for as well too, but that's a whole nother discussion. But I agree that if done well, there are good ways to have players engage with the story if the story is something that is going to be focused on. But I think that is one of the problems with Rare, is finding that balance, because right now there's still a lot of people working at that studio, but I don't know what they're working on. And it doesn't feel like what they're working on is justifying the short term like troubles for each of these seasons. I'm glad that Custom Seas is out now, because I genuinely want them to continue working on it and trying to flesh out some of the features that are missing that will help kind of keep engagement there with that mode. Like we've talked about with other games that have means of browsing different modes, that is integral to building a community around something that the devs don't have to do with. They can players will create their content, and that content will survive, and the game will survive because players are engaging with it, and the devs don't have to do a thing about it.
So let me ask you this. I agree that I hope they do something, but let me ask. Mm-hmm. When they shut down the arena, it was because too few of players were playing it, and it was too much time spent from a development standpoint on that game mode based on numbers of players playing it. Okay. Now, they wanted everyone to focus on adventure, because that's where the general populace is.
Yeah.
Now, they've got the open world, the sandbox. Now they have Last Ship Standing, which is not in the open world sandbox. And now they have Custom Seas, which is not in the open world sandbox. Though it is the open world sandbox, but you know what I mean? Like they have all these little switches in their back end, but now they've got to make it in a way where players have actual like in-game toggles, and those toggles have to work right. Like there's a user experience that now has to go into that instead of what they used to do on the back end. So now they've got 3 different quote unquote modes, and one is a weekend only mode. 3 quote unquote different modes that they now have to maintain. And the general populace is not in any of the other 2 modes. They're still in the sandbox.
So I'm going to try and summarize this to kind of make it a little bit more clear. You're asking, why are they justifying the development support for multiple modes that are potentially less popular than what Arena was at its height.
Yeah. I'm just asking, like, I know you said you hope that they take it in a direction and they do great things, but I'm like, what in their history has shown you that they're going to? Because the last time they had multiple modes, they shut it down saying it was too much time to spend on a mode that most of the players aren't playing. And now they've created 2 modes where most of the players aren't going to be playing it. So what have they done in the past that shows you that this is going to be successful or can be successful?
So I don't think that having Last Ship Standing in as a separate mode is something that I would account for, because that is directly tied to Hourglass, which is in the main game. You're going to a different place, but you're still able to progress main game with that, as far as like the actual PvP factions. So that one's a little bit harder to say that kind of falls in line with the example that you're giving as far as custom seas go. With past emphasis on this, the only thing I have to go on is the fact that they have tried to update past things, with like the Roar, with Captaincy, with Hourglass. We've seen them recently do some updates to those as a way to try and like go back and do like a touch up on past content. It's not necessarily on the timeline that I think players would want, but it is still something that is being done. You can't say that it hasn't. So the hope is that Rare capitalizes on releasing this big feature that is based around people doing stuff in a game that is not tied directly to progression, and that they continue to work on it to improve it so that it doesn't degrade over time, that it doesn't turn into an Arena situation. Because I think, unfortunately, the reason Arena died wasn't because the mode was bad. It was because Rare didn't continue to work on it in a timely manner. They kept the rewards stuck at 50. Once you hit 50, once you got the cosmetics, there was no reason to engage with it from a progression standpoint. They rarely ever tried to address like why, like different, they never tried to experiment with different modes. They never worked on trying to get Briggs into it. They rarely ever tried mixing and matching like the types of player ships against it. So unfortunately, there was just not enough of them working on trying to keep Arena enriched that that they didn't put enough time into enriching Arena, which is what ended up killing it. If they had continued to release cosmetics for it, if they had introduced new modes like Capture the Flag, King of the Hill, outside of just team deathmatch, I think there probably would have been more engagement there. But it's hard to know like if players were engaging with it long enough because the game mode wasn't good or because it wasn't continued to be focused on. And that's why I'm hoping that they do focus on custom seas, because otherwise it will absolutely turn into another.
And that's where my negative Nancy, or is how I call it, realistic mindset goes.
Yeah.
Because there were players who wanted to engage with Arena, but it wasn't built, or it was built okay, but it wasn't set up in a way that was, what's the best word? It wasn't set up in a way that those players wanted it to be. They didn't want to dig up a chest. They didn't want the adventure. They wanted PvP. That's what they wanted. And I know there were some, like, I enjoyed, don't get me wrong, I loved digging up the chest and fighting over the chest and then getting some crazy harpoon and making a break for the thing. I'm with you. I enjoyed that aspect of it. Yeah. But if you ask a lot of the Arena players, not the TDMers, like that was a group that wanted to TDM and just double gun and sweaty sweat, like that was a group. But the people who actually wanted to engage in Arena the way it was meant to be, which was both a naval battle and boarding ships PvP match, that was never achieved. Now, had they hired, or maybe he existed there and they just thought he was crazy, or her, whoever came up with Last Ship Standing was a genius. Because Last Ship Standing is what Arena should have been.
Yes.
Should have been that. With the shrinking barrier on its own, it's on its own servers, shrinking barrier,
Yeah.
ship and boarding, so you get your both things. There aren't any islands for you to TDM on. You can still, I guess, lock down a boat and TDM on the boat if you want, but whatever. Like, that's how Arena should have been. And they could have, I guarantee you, and again, I'm saying that, but I'm not a betting man, and I'm not like some like psychic that could predict it. If they took Last Ship Standing and took the cool tools that they're giving players now in custom seas and overlaid those on top of each other, and that was Arena, I think we would be right now having a very different conversation on the trajectory of Sea of Thieves.
So that is, if you don't mind, I think that is where I am hoping that them saying that they have more plans for custom seas is pointed towards. Because I don't disagree with you in the slightest. I think that what you're saying is a great testament to what the potential is. If Rare has realized that that is where the potential lies, and I know that there's been conversations on forums about why they can't set it up so that you can do Arena in custom seas. I think if they are open enough to working on that, then they absolutely could be in a state where we are talking about how the community is driving up their own kind of esports around Sea of Thieves that is built through custom seas. But that is where I'm hoping that they are open enough to do something that is going to service the long term of Sea of Thieves, as opposed to what they may be working on, which is adding a couple more bells and whistles, a couple more functional things, and then presets. Because I'm afraid that presets is the best thing that they have on their whiteboard, and that is not going to, I think, service the long term.
No. And what hurts me, and I know Drew's mentioned it, what hurts me, because regardless of how much I'm playing the game now compared to what I was, this is, I will throw down and say, the best pirate experience game that I've ever played. And I've played them all, at least a little bit. It gives you an experience and has some characters that you do not get in any other game. Yeah. And what bums me out the most about the direction of this game for multiple years now is that they're pissing it away. And I sit here and I watch other content creators who weren't Sea of Thieves partners, who just played Sea of Thieves casually. Wasn't even their mainstream game, but are now playing other games that have a lot of bugs in them. And they sit there, and I've watched them for a long time, and I've never seen them stream Sea of Thieves. But they mention that they enjoy Sea of Thieves, whatever. But now they're playing games like indie games that are in closed beta, games that are in early access, so they've got bugs. And they make the comments now, man, this game is super buggy, but it's not Sea of Thieves buggy. Like, that hurts me, because I'm like, this game is 8 years old. It's from a AAA studio owned by Microsoft. And there are indie games that people are memeing Sea of Thieves because of how buggy it is. And that hurts. And that's why, again, along with the trust that I've lost in Rare, I see these new things and I'm like, it's as you said, should have been done a long time ago. But I'm like, if you don't water your garden, if you don't make sure your plants have appropriate amounts of sunlight, they're going to die. And they gave us this really cool tool of custom seas to create our own D&D groups if we wanted to, our own like fun little community events if we wanted to. But if you don't water it and you don't feed it, it's going to die. And that seems to be, unfortunately, Rare's MO, is they put out something really cool and then they don't feed it and water it and it dies.
Yeah.
And that's what bums me out. That's what bums me out, because custom seas is cool. It is awesome. There are a lot of people that are going to create some really cool stuff, and I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to watch what people create in custom seas.
Yeah.
But how long is that going to last? And that's really good. That just bums me out that people dog on this game the way they do. And don't get me wrong, I dog on it, but I also play it a lot and cover it, right? But like people who dog on it, but they're not wrong. And when your head of production, Drew, says, "Oh yeah, this has become kind of a meme," it's like, bro, that's a problem.
Yeah. Well, I don't discredit that they don't realize it's a problem. I think they very much understand that it is. I do want to move on though, and jump into a few things that have that are in the actual that are in the patch notes, so that folks kind of know about that. We just ran through one of the Pirates' Life Tall Tales, and unfortunately, at the end of completing that Tall Tale, I have not received my Sea of Thieves Sea King's Cutlass. Have you?
I did not see a pop up.
Okay.
Let me check my.
We may have
box.
to. We may have to
we
log
might have
out
to wait 72 hours
and fill out a ticket for it. Maybe
and fill out a ticket.
Some of the stuff.
It's a Cutlass. I went to the equipment box.
No worries. One of the to your point, I think this is one of the things that we're talking on is that there are things like this that should not be something that we have to know is an issue in the past to explain away why we haven't received it, if that makes sense. But I wanted to touch on unless you have news about the Cutlass.
I'm searching each page because I know sometimes they make these Cutlasses at certain points and then don't release them, so they're not in the appropriate order.
Yeah.
But no, I do not have it. But I was just going to piggyback quickly on what you just said is we shouldn't have to tell them there is an issue and then them say, "Oh, open a ticket," especially for something that is in the game and they're highlighting of do this and get this. Well, if you're highlighting do this and get this, they should already know it works. And if it doesn't work, it shouldn't be, "Oh, sorry, create a ticket and we'll work on that." It's like, bro, that's like a highlight that's going on right now. Like, you should know that it's not working, and you should get in front of it and say, "Hey, we're having issues with this. Go ahead and complete it." And it should be on Twitter and all that, but it should also be in the game as a pop-up that says, "Hey, we're having issues with this. Don't panic. Do your thing. It won't show up, but don't worry. We're on it and we're going to make sure you get it." Done.
I think part of the trouble here is, oh, you know what? I just realized. Okay, so here's why it hasn't popped up for us. We are 2 days too early. So a Pirate's Life anniversary celebration, that is an event that is actually going to start on June 22nd. We're recording this on the 20th, just as a heads up, but it's going to kick up on the 22nd and go through till the 17th. I don't know why it's starting on the 22nd, but that would explain
what also
why.
Probably could have caused this. I mean, clearly the date, but I just realized you booted this up in Safer Seas.
But Safer Seas can be complete. You can do Tall Tales in Safer Seas, and that's part of the problem.
But does it still give you the same credits?
Completion wise, yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
because when I clicked on events, like when I open the seasonal and I click on events, it specifically says only available on high seas.
But you can't see what the events are to know to know what would be considered high seas or not. That's one of the troubles that I run into is, again, patch notes. They do not state,
not clear.
They don't state like this needs to be done in high seas.
Right.
Again, clear communication from the team that is doing the patch notes. This should be something that could, and all you have to do is continue typing in, can be completed in high seas and Safer Seas, cannot be completed in custom seas. You know, a little more like information. If you're going to communicate stuff, at least be thorough about it. That's one of the troubles that we're running into. So it is on us. Inconsistent. It's on us for not paying attention to the dates. So I will.
You just made me do a tall tale.
I know.
For nothing.
I know. Well, it was for B-roll.
Dare you?
One of the other things that that is coming in is community weekend is going to be from the 26th of June to the 29th. The Meridian Hunter Eye of Reach is on offer for completing event goals. And if players collectively complete enough world events during community weekend to meet the community spirit goal, the Meridian Hunter Cutlass will also become unlocked for everyone who's taking part.
I'm actually surprised that was the, like, I knew that, but I'm surprised. I'm just going to say it right now, that's how they approach the community weekend. And it didn't say, if the community collectively spends this many hours on custom seas, this will unlock.
No, I think they are looking to get engagement on the changes to the world event.
They should. As they should.
Yeah, because I think that there's
highlight it.
The lack of diving to world events, I think, is a very big deal for where the future of Sea of Thieves is going to go, because a lot of people have said diving is a detriment to the health of a server when players are not sticking around and loot pools are not communicated well enough. I said at one of the other episodes that I think that they very easily could have identified different world events loot pools based on the color of the cloud above it, or some other means. Like there should very easily be a way to identify, this is a Gold Hoarder one, it's green. This is a Merchant Alliance one, it's blue. This is an Order of Souls one, it's purple. They could have done something like that very easily to identify what the loot pool is, to give players an opportunity to decide, am I going to engage with that or not? Not having that mystery, that sense of chance. That is one way they could have combated that, as opposed to going the drastic route, which is we're going to disable dives for world events. So it is an experiment.
That wouldn't be too hard, I don't think. You don't even have to change the whole cloud. Just change the skeleton's eyes.
Yeah, you change the colors. Just add colors to. But I mean, there is going to be
really
like
good solution.
Well, I don't work for Rare.
I know.
I'm glad that they're doing this. I hope that they are honest with the reality of the state of the game and the player base, and they look at current concurrent player bases and completions for the last 2 months or the last 3 months or the last 6 months, and be real honest with themselves about what the community spirit goal is going to be. Otherwise it's going to turn into one of those like double barrel pistols. Speaking of double barrel pistols, there's been improvements. Did you hear about that? Did you hear about this?
Here's the thing about weapons. Okay. Yeah. Here's the thing. Let me talk to you. Here's the thing I have about weapons. I like the original 4.
Yeah.
That's what I like.
Okay.
Do I use the flute? Do I use the pipe? Yes, because it's really good to clear bosses. Yeah. Love the pipe for clearing bosses, and I've seen some people very successful with it in PvP. Do I like the throwing knives? Sure, they're fun to wing them around. Again, I usually go pipe throwing knife for bosses because it does really good against bosses. Yeah. The double barrel pistol, I wanted it to be cool. Mm-hmm. I wanted it to be fun, but it is clunky as all get out to fire. And that's my issue is, and again, maybe it's easier on the old roller, but I play on my mouse and keyboard and it's the clunkiest thing to use. And I don't like it. And the grapple gun, I could break it over my knee and chuck it in the deepest pits of the ocean and not care.
That is a very interesting perspective that I don't know that I share the same sentiments. I personally think that the grapple gun has, ever since they went in and actually did what they should have done at launch and not been so trepidatious about it when they first launched it, I think it's become quite the boon for me. I genuinely love having the grapple gun as a traversal tool and am willing to do that in PvE. The double barrel, I have found good success with when I'm completing content that has low level mobs. When it's high level mobs, not great, but the amount of bullets, you get 6 bullets for the double barrel pistol. And I think that the reload time being a little bit better in the past and like the functionality behind it is good when you're trying to dispatch like a bunch of little skeletons that you don't really have to worry about. That's where I've seen some. But again, I still think that the blowpipe is a stronger tool, but they did make improvements. So let me read these out to you and see if maybe there's something that they can kind of like communicate to us about whether or not this is going to be something that was worth actually bringing to the game. So improvements have been made to the double barrel pistol to enhance the in-game experience when stashing, reloading, and restocking ammo. After firing a shot and having the second barrel ready to fire, players attempting to stash and re-wield or restock ammo from a crate will now find the weapon consistency remains in a ready-to-fire state with its second barrel. Previously, performing one of these actions would force the weapon to fully reload both barrels before being able to fire, losing the player's crucial seconds in a fight. Players may now find that they are required to reload manually in these scenarios, but can now choose to do that at a time that suits them during combat. So does that make sense from reading it?
I follow you.
Okay. I think that is a good way to approach it, because I think that logically, if I fire one shot and I prep the second shot, but reload my ammo, and I have not reloaded the first barrel, I should realistically still have that second barrel to be able to fire before having to reload both.
Agreed.
So I actually think that is a smart and logical change.
Yes.
For the double barrel pistol.
Yes.
If that actually makes a difference in whether or not it's a viable meta will remain to be seen. And I think the PvPers will definitely like test that out to see if it's worth it. But I at least appreciate that was something that they are looking at, why the double barrel is not used and addressing functionality that otherwise should make sense.
Yeah. And I agree. I think those changes are logical and smart changes. I don't think that's going to change the meta. Just because, and quite frankly, this is why. If you are a PvP sweaty person, your weapon is going to be Eye of Reach Flintlock or Eye of Reach Blunderbuss. That is going to be your weapon because of their changes that they made to quick swapping. That quick swapping is available. You can then shoot and kill faster than someone can eat something. And the double barrel pistol, unfortunately, it doesn't have that same speed to kill or time to kill as the normal flintlock with the Eye of Reach or the normal flintlock with the blunderbuss. It doesn't have the time to kill.
I would be genuinely curious to hop into Custom Seas and do a little Sea of Science to find out what the damage and time frame is for the double barrel compared to the Eye of Reach and flintlock.
Did you want to do that right now?
Not necessarily right now when we're recording, because there's like I'm gonna kind of breeze over some of the stuff that we could cover in here. Needless to say, the black market will receive new stock during the Build Rat Weekender, which is going to kick off in the middle of July. That is going to be July 17th through to the 20th, and will include new items to spend doubloons on, like the Shadow Tide jacket and boots, the Spider's Venom dress and hook, the Hungering One's Hunter's gloves, the Bloodstone Dragon gold pin hair, the Master of High Seas shirt, the famous pirate eye patch, the power cord emote, and the legendary Hunter's Call pistol, which requires Pirate Legend status. All of these are items from past seasons, and they're all things that I already own. So I am not going to be able to give doubloons to Lorena once the Build Rat Weekender goes, but we will have to see how things go from July 17th through to the 20th. Additionally, we have Last Ship Standing kicking off from July 3rd through to July 10th, and that we also have weekly fight nights starting July 14th, and that those will return as a regular event for season 20, and that for 24 hours every Tuesday, starting at 10 a.m. UTC, when Last Ship Standing is not active, you can earn double allegiance and gold for every faction fought battle.
Okay.
Taking a look at the rest of this, there is so the cosmetics that they typically had in the season pass have now been moved over to the outpost shops. That is the silver coin clothing set, which can be purchased for gold. I don't think that the cost was very high when I bought them, but it was something that was something to collect. It is a new set, and it's not like a recolor of a past set, but it is available for you if you want to buy those. Unfortunately, we still don't have like those nice little Pirate Legend uniques that we used to get, but I imagine that they will probably not discontinue making those, and we'll look to put those in as like rewards for other types of content. Outside of that, Last Ship Sending quick requeue is something that they are going to have available after or for this upcoming Last Ship Standing, which is going to be in July. And the last thing is the Chest of Fortune is now going to have a chance to spawn in world events. The chance of getting 3 is, I believe, 1% based on what leakers online have said after data mining. But
So
one
any world event.
any natural world event, not like Kraken or Megalodons, I believe. But
Giving them a clack for that.
yep.
I think 1% is a little low, but
that's for
I've been
3.
calling or 3. I think it's a little low still, because I don't think it should be astronomical. I don't think it should be more than 5%. 1% I think is a little low, but like
you can still get 1 at a higher. So like there is a higher percentage that 1 will appear. Sure. Just to be clear.
And that's fine. I think maybe like 30% chance or of 1, 5% for 3, I think would be fine. Because I said this when they did the what were they called, like the when they put like all that loot in some of those treasure vaults of the
mega
forts. What was that
stashes?
called? The stashes. Yeah. When they were doing that, and you had a chance to get like a crap ton of those super rare chests, I said, you know what would really invigorate world events? If they did this for every world event. There is a small chance that it could be a mega stash, and so I'm glad they're doing something to that effect.
Yeah. That is something that I think a positive change, and to be perfectly frank, something that should be a permanent change. Much in the same way that I appreciate that they have that as a possibility for any world event, because that way players are going to want to engage with every world event as a chance, and probably be favored towards the ones that they enjoy the most. But one of the things that I didn't see in the patch notes that actually ties to world events is the changes that they may have made. Actually, no, I take it back. I think that they did probably put this in the patch notes. I just haven't read to see if they did. But I think one of the things that they did was the rebalancing of commendations. And I'm actually going to do a quick Control F for commendations. Let's see. Nope, that's a letter of recommendations. The intended when cruise is strike. No. Okay, so they did do rebalancing on this. I was talking to Caleb about this, and he had kind of like broken down like some of the things that are going to be commendation changes for commendations that are typically a lot harder to do, particularly around like the Burning Blade or the Merchant Alliance wood crates and message bottle quests. They are doing changes to those. I don't have anything in the patch notes that identifies that, so could be fake news at this point for all I'm concerned. But if that is something that did actually get put into this update, and I'm not seeing it represented on the actual commendations, again, poor communication on the people putting the patch notes together, because that should be information that is documented so that players understand when they go read the patch notes that these commendations have changed. This is the change that they did, and this is what the former changes were. And I'm going to be real frank here. Rare, if you're listening to this and you made it this far, first off, congrats. Thank you very much for doing so. Please go look at patch notes from games like Heroes of the Storm, where they document the past patch notes or the past status of a thing, of a spell, and they cross out what was old and they put in what was new as like colored text. And please, I have to do it when I do QA. If there's a documented change and we're writing up a task on what needs to get changed in the doc that holds all the data for what something is going to be, we have to cross out what was old, keep it there, and show what is new so that you can see the documented change. This is how patch notes should be. They shouldn't be a newsletter welcoming you back to the game to check out the cool feature like it's a piece of marketing. Like, it's not a newsletter, it's not marketing, it is documented changes to the game. Please treat it with the information that should be present.
Blizzard is amazing at their patch notes.
Yes, they're very clear about what gets changed, and the community rides them hard when they mess it up or they don't put something in. I think that is, honestly, we've been going long here. I think that is definitely a good place to kind of wrap things up. There are definitely a lot of...
Can I show you one thing? Can I show you one thing before? I know this is an audio medium, but I've waited 8 years for this to be fixed. And it's still not. So if you direct your attention, and for those on audio, I will explain this to you. But those watching on video, if you through Logan's eyes, look at my pirate's armpits. I know that sounds weird, but my pirate is a chongus. He is a big boy, and thus clothes don't fit him. And so when I wear a captain's jacket and I raise my arms in the air, the jacket seems to just be a dye on my skin tone, except for my armpitties, which are flesh toned. So it looks like my jacket is all ripped out around the armpits. It's because of how they do modeling. But the second thing that I would like them to fix after 8 years is I can't wear belts as a Chongus, and I am currently displaying one of my favorite belts, the Black Dog belt, and I look like I'm wearing a pool floaty because it's so thick on the big pirates. So after 8 years, I would like to have my pirate be able to wear a belt and make it look like a belt, and that my pirate may raise his arms and not look like his skin is the color of the thing, and actually, actually have a jacket. That's my final words.
That is, by all means, top priority. Rare, what are you thinking?
8 years. I haven't been able to wear a belt in 8 years.
All right. There's definitely been a lot that we've covered. I know we tended to go long on certain segments there, so hopefully folks are sticking around with us to hear this part of it. But I do think that there are definitely things in the future of Sea of Thieves that I hope that Rare does, because they've put out the communication that they want to be proactive about continued development for custom seas. They have been communicative about them desiring feedback on the changes to world events. Very much the case. I think that players will be vocal one way or the other, but I hope that Rare is true in their desire to actually absorb the feedback and react to it in a way that embraces what the community's perspective is on it. Otherwise, I think it'll be to the degradation of the game in the state that it currently is. They really have to build trust with this.
Yep. Yeah, they've lost trust, and ultimately the best thing they could do right now, for however long Sea of Thieves is going to be around, is they need to write it on a mural in their main areas in Rare, put it on sticky notes on every monitor. We must build and maintain trust with our players. And that should be their motto, their vision, their mission, and their focus.
Yes. That, and I'm going to add a sticky note to that says, build for, what would be the best way to express this? Be honest about your timelines.
Yes.
And not with the community. I mean, with yourselves. Be
with
honest.
Yourselves.
Yeah. Be honest with yourselves about your timelines and
Yep.
don't like season 19, a good example. They realized that because of the delays in season 18, there was no way that they were going to be able to magic out the stuff that they had for season 19 and have it actually work. I respect that, but that should be the turning point. That should be the, oh man, I can't believe we stepped in dog poo. We should really watch where we're going.
It's not only, oh man, we stepped in dog poo. It's, oh man, we stepped in dog poo again, and we didn't learn from it again and again and again. Because I respect when they delay things that aren't ready. I do not respect when they delay things that aren't ready and they still put out hot garbage.
Yeah.
And not everything in season 19 was hot garbage. I'm going to be the first to say, that's the first time I played Hourglass in a while. Like, and I actually enjoyed the time I played in Hourglass in the beginning of season 19, but it degraded very quickly over season 19. And so that's why I'm saying you've stepped in that pile of poo multiple times. Why aren't you learning, hey, big pile of poo, don't put my foot in it?
Yeah. And I think that's just a general sentiment for Rares is we desire them to be successful, but we also need them to be honest about what they're capable of and really kind of showcase why it is they think that the changes that they're going to be making in the future for the development of the game have taken the lessons from what wasn't working in the past and why they think that it's going to work in the future with this different cadence. Because otherwise we're going to just continue to talk in loops that like we tend to do, unfortunately.
Yep.
And it's one of those things. I want to praise the game because the game is in a good place. I don't want to continue talking about the faults that we've run into.
I've done it for multiple years now, and I can't agree with you more. There's nothing more than I would like to do several episodes in a row, several months in a row, where I'm doing nothing but praising and not calling out, well, we've seen this before. I would love that.
Yeah.
I would love it.
Tim, you're still making plenty of content out there for Sea of Thieves. You're still sailing on the weekends and having a good go of it with community members. Where can people find your content?
So I don't do a lot of posting anymore. I've tried to pull myself away from social media. I try. I fail, but I try. You can find me in most places, either under Davrim, Davrim, or Davrim TV, which is the same, but with TV at the end. And you can, of course, check out my Sea of Thieves podcast, which I've had Logan on multiple times. Pirate Talk Radio. I will be trying to figure out a way to continue Pirate Talk Radio, even though we, again, just like Logan, I don't want to talk in circles all the time. And unfortunately, that has also stopped me from putting out episodes as much as I can, because I'm just like, I'm saying the same thing every episode. I don't like talking about the same thing over and over again. So, but I hope to continue Pirate Talk Radio. So if you're interested in not only Sea of Thieves, but a little history lessons, please come over and check out Pirate Talk Radio on all your podcasting applications.
Awesome. And as always, I will be working on the next 4 episodes. Next week is going to be a Gold Hoarder episode where we talk to the Gold Hoarders on the Patreon to get their thoughts, feelings, and concerns and praises for season 20 and see how things are going, and maybe even just talk about Keelhauled a little bit if they want to. But it's definitely going to be one of those things where I'll be chatting with them. I'm looking to get Caleb back on the podcast for one of the other episodes. But effectively, this is the wind down for Keelhauled, and I'm glad that Tim, you were able to come in this weekend to jump on to actually talk with me about Sea of Thieves, because you've been a good friend and someone who has been very integral to having a varied experience when it comes to podcasts about Sea of Thieves.
You know what I always say about video games? I'm not a very emotional person, but video games, there are a couple of them and a couple moments that always successfully, whenever I see it, or experience it kind of chokes me up. But one thing that I will say about video games is I have met some of my best friends in the entire world because of video games, and Sea of Thieves is no exception. I have met some of the most outstanding friends, including yourself, because of this game. And regardless of where this game goes in the future, I'm thankful for the game for that reason.
Very well put. All right. That is going to do it for this episode, Pirates. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to always reach out and let us know what's going on. Otherwise, that is going to do it for this episode. So thank you. I love you, and I look forward to sailing with you on the Sea of Thieves.